Welcome to the loan officer sales training with the mortgage calculator. We're going to wait just a minute here to get started. Let us go live on all the different platforms. We are streaming this live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So thank you everybody for tuning in from the different platforms. We'll get started here in just a moment. Give everybody a chance to jump on. I did just put the chat up on the screen, so feel free to drop a comment there in the chat as you tune in. I see Jules already sent in a comment. Appreciate that. Go ahead and drop a comment there as you tune in while we wait to get started here. Hope everyone's having a great week so far. Today we're going to talk about the power of reciprocation. So give us just a minute here and we will go ahead and started. Remember, we do this at 12 p.m. Eastern every weekday, where we go through some more of the front end of the sales of mortgages as opposed to the back end with the guidelines and actually originating mortgages. So definitely a training that I like, and we'll get into it here in just a moment. And it looks like we are live on all the different platforms, so we can go ahead and get started. But as you tune in, keep dropping comments there in the chat, and also drop any questions you have in the chat as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone has. So let's go ahead and get into it. My name is Kyle Hershey. I am the COO of the Mortgage Calculator. Today is a loan officer sales training, and we are going to be talking about the power of reciprocation. So this is a great topic to go over, again, on the front end, on the sales side of actually speaking to clients, getting business, getting referral business. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the power of reciprocation here today. Now, first off, this is essentially the definition of reciprocity when we're talking about business. And this is an amazing definition here when you really break it down. So first off, reciprocity represents our innate inclination to respond to gestures of goodwill with equivalent or even magnified positive action. So what does that mean? If somebody goes out of their way to do something for us or just does something for us, it's our human nature to respond with either equivalent or even magnified positive actions. So a lot of the times, whoever is doing the first gesture of goodwill, it ends up coming back to them even magnified because they were the first person to create this reciprocity, so people feel inclined to respond with at least the same amount of goodwill that they have already received from that person that initiated the goodwill in the first place, right? Now, the next point here is just, it's amazing here. This is not merely a sense of obligation or indebtedness, but rather a mutual recognition that promotes a continuous cycle of goodwill. So the beautiful part there, key word is cycle of goodwill. So when we're talking about sales, when we're talking about being a sales professional, a loan officer, that's essentially what we are, right? That's so important because we're in this business for the long run. We're not in this business to get rich quick. That's definitely not going to work in the atmosphere of the business in the way that it is right now, right? The highest rates in 30 years. It's not going to be a get rich quick scheme to be a loan officer right now. We all have to be in this for the long run. And a cycle of goodwill is exactly what we need to last long term in this business. So there, and you can see that there's power in this definition. The two big takeaways here are that not only do people naturally by instinct respond with the same amount of goodwill, but they are essentially inclined to respond with even more goodwill. And the key here is that it can create a cycle. It's not just a one to one thing here, especially when it's people that we're working with on a continuous basis. It creates a cycle of goodwill that we can use to our advantage. Now, what are the ways that we can use it to our advantage? I'm going to go over that on the next slide here, but I do want to talk about something that's pretty cool, which was some business professors, which is just absolutely super interesting. I love this example here. So there was some business professors who were doing a study on reciprocity, and what they did was they send out a couple hundred um, postcards with their family on it for the holidays, right? So they sent those out, their family, just a holiday postcard like people do. I'm not sure how much people do it nowadays, but people used to do a lot, right? And they sent them to random people that they did not know at all. So a couple hundred random people received a Christmas card from this family that they have no idea who it is. And they got like, I can't remember the exact number, but they got like 25% of them sent them a family Christmas card the next year, right? Which is just super, great to see how this works. That's a great study to see exactly how this works, right? They had no idea who they were, but they received a Christmas card from this family that they have never met before, that they have no idea who they are, but they felt the need to reciprocate and send them a card of their own, right? So that's just a perfect example of this. And I thought that study was a great kind of nugget there of information to say that, they had no idea who they were, but they received something from them. So they reciprocated and sent them something, whether they knew them or not, they stated. So that's just a random thing, right? A random Christmas card that comes from another family is then reciprocated by that family. So that's a great little example there. Now let's talk about how we can use this concept when we are actually doing, loans or sales, I guess we should say, on this training. So we're going to use the power of reciprocity for repeat business. So what does that mean? That means that when your client tells you, I appreciate it, thank you for doing such a great job, we're going to say, no problem. I know that you would do the same for me. And I know that when you need something to do with a mortgage, I know that you'll give me a call, right? We're creating that reciprocity because we essentially already provided them with a service, and we're going to make sure that they understand that we want that future business, and in reward for us doing a great job for what they just said, we're going to ask them for some reciprocity of, I did a great job on your deal. What I would like in return is for you to do more deals with me, right? And the same thing goes for the reciprocity of asking for referrals. This is super important. We talked about this on the referral sales training about asking for referrals. If you haven't seen that sales training, please go back and watch it. It's on our YouTube channel. It's a great training because what we need to do is we need to ask for referrals. The perfect time to ask for referrals is once you've completed a transaction. Again, not only asking them for repeat business, but asking them for that reciprocity to send you people who could potentially do loans with you. Now, this also goes for anybody that you're out there supporting in some type of way. This can be people you haven't done loans with necessarily, but anytime that you do any type of, goodwill, good deed, anytime you're visiting someone's business, putting money in someone's pocket, right? That's when we want to set the expectation of reciprocity and ask for that by saying, I love supporting your business. I hope you would do the same for me. And, maybe allow me to put my business cards here, or people know that need anything to do with mortgages or real estate that they could reach out to me because I'm supporting you in your business. I know that you'll do the same for me, right? So sometimes the reciprocity needs to be essentially, kind of put into the forefront of people's minds, right? When you've already done that gesture of goodwill, because visiting someone's business is, that's a gesture of goodwill, right? That's a gesture towards them. You're putting money in their pocket. And anybody else that you know, anybody that you've done a favor for, anybody like that, right? We want to make sure that we actually, um, you know, make sure that they understand that there is reciprocity to this, right? Because some people, you'll do something for somebody, do a favor, or visit their business or whatever it is, but if you don't actually establish the fact that you are doing this because you know that they will do this in return, now they're thinking about that, right? Now they're thinking, okay, you're right, I should reciprocate what you've provided. But it doesn't always just come naturally, especially when we're talking about, perfect example, just working with somebody's small business. They might not necessarily think of you supporting their business as something that they should reciprocate. You got to kind of put that in their mind a little bit and say, yeah, I love supporting your business because I know that you would do the same for me. I am really looking for people who have mortgages. I know that you'll let people know that. Would you be able to let me put my business cards out on your counter, or whatever the situation may be? So sometimes it doesn't happen naturally. Sometimes we have to kind of prompt to people to think about how that they should reciprocate, and that they should reciprocate something because we are providing some type of goodwill or gesture towards them. We just need to realize that, right? I guess that's kind of the best statement for it, is sometimes they don't realize, so we have to just make them realize, right? And here we're talking about also using the power of reciprocation in your initial sales calls, right? So it doesn't have to just be people you've already done business with or anything like that. We can still use it in our initial sales calls, because when we're talking to the client, we can say, essentially kind of set up reciprocation for the future. We can say, I would love to do a great job on your loan because I want to make sure that once I do that, the people that you talk to, you would want to refer them to me, right? You're kind of setting up that reciprocation of, I'm going to do a good job for you if you give me this business, because I know that you will, it will come back to me, right? So you're kind of already setting up of them thinking, yeah, yeah, for sure. When, as long as we close this loan and it goes by, great, then of course I will reciprocate and I will let people know and I will give you repeat business. So we can kind of use that as also a little bit of a sales tactic when we're first talking to people, and let them know that, we would love to do a great job for them because we know once we do that they will reciprocate that and they will send us referrals. So again, not just when you've already done business with people, not just when you're asking for referrals, but you can kind of create that relationship of reciprocation even in the initial sales calls or throughout the sales process, while we're still setting up the deal, while we're still in the middle of the loan. When things happen, some things might happen that are out of our control, some things might happen in the process, and we can still come in and say, look, I'm doing everything I absolutely can. I am on top of it. I want to get this loan for you, done for you in a way to where you would recommend me to your friends or family. So trust me, I am on top of it, right? So that is another thing we can do. So again, we're setting expectations of this. We're making people realize that this is happening, because as we go back here to the definition, as long as they're realizing what's going on, then they have, in our human nature, is to respond with equivalent or even magnified positive actions. So sometimes we just need to bring it to the forefront and make them realize that that's what's happening now. As long as we can make them realize that that's what's happening, it's going to come back to, it's their human nature to respond, right? So that's what's beautiful about this. It's already instilled in people. This is not something you have to, explain to people. This is just, as long as they realize what's going on, it's already in their human nature to follow this reciprocation. So, our main job here is just to make sure that people realize that that is the thing that's going on here, the reciprocation, that, we're, I guess not say expecting it, but we're setting up I guess I'm not really sure what the word is to use. We're not expecting it, but we are setting them up so that they understand that that is what's going on. So that is why when I say we're asking for referrals, we're usually doing that at the time where they're thanking us for something, or we're congratulating them on finishing their deal. And we're just setting that expectation of, I I appreciate you thanking me for doing a great job. I worked really hard on it. I'm glad that you're satisfied. And, I know you'll do the same for me if somebody has any questions or you run into anyone about mortgages. I know you would, recommend me, right? So that is essentially what we're talking about with the power of reciprocation. The biggest takeaway here is to make sure that you make people realize, not in a pushy way, not in a way of you owe me something, but you just have to put it out there. And really, the best terms to do that is, I know you would do the same for me. That's the key way of making them realize it without being pushy or anything. There's different variations and ways to say it, but that's essentially the gesture you're getting across is, I know you would do the same for me. The reciprocation of, I did something for you, or I'm going to do something for you, and I know that you would do the same for me, right? So that is the power of reciprocation. And we're going to use it to ask for referrals, ask for repeat business, and we're even able to use it in those initial sales calls when we're talking to people, and making them understand that we're going for reciprocation, right? That's why we're going to work so hard on their loan. And they'll understand that if that's what's important to you, is for me to refer people to you, then you're obviously going to be doing the best you can on this loan, because you're expecting me to refer people to you after you do a great job. You're expecting me to be so happy that I will reciprocate by giving you referrals and giving you repeat business. So again, it's just setting up those expectations of reciprocity there. So I don't see any questions here, so I think we can wrap it up. Remember, we do this 12 p.m. Eastern every single weekday. We try to keep them pretty short, so make sure you tune in. It's not that long of a training here. So we'll be right back here tomorrow with a new topic for the loan officer sales training with the mortgage